The massive council ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. Its pearl-white hull gleamed in the distant sunlight as it began its careful approach toward the third planet. On the bridge, First Speaker Dale of the Galactic Council stood tall, his forearms clasped behind his back, in what his species considered a gesture of peaceful intent. "Another primitive world to welcome into our fellowship," Dale said to his crew. "Initiate standard first contact protocols." The Council had done this hundreds of times before. Their process was perfected over 10,000 years of peaceful integration. Appear at a safe distance, broadcast greetings in the local language, and wait for the excited response from the newly discovered civilization. But something was different this time. Within minutes of their arrival, their sensors detected increased activity across Earth's orbital space. Satellites changed positions. Hidden weapon platforms emerged from behind the moon. A fleet of warships, previously masked by advanced stealth technology, appeared in defensive formations around the planet. "First Speaker," the sensor officer called out, "they're activating defensive systems across their entire solar system. We're detecting weapon locks from multiple platforms." Dale blinked all four of his eyes in surprise. "Impossible. They shouldn't have this level of technology. Our surveys showed them as a level 2 civilization barely reaching for their moon." The communication officer's tentacles twisted in agitation. "Sir, I'm broadcasting our greeting message on all frequencies, but they're not responding." "Wait, they're actively jamming our transmissions." Throughout Earth's orbital space, human military commanders watched the alien vessel with grim determination. In underground bunkers, political leaders gathered in emergency sessions. On military bases worldwide, troops mobilized with practiced efficiency. The humans' response was unlike anything the Council had ever encountered. There was no celebration, no eager attempts at communication. Instead, Earth's combined military forces moved with the coordinated precision of a civilization that had done this before. "First Speaker," the tactical officer reported, "their weapons are far more advanced than preliminary surveys indicated. They appear to have hybrid technology. Some of their systems don't match any known designs in our database." Dale felt a chill run through his body. This wasn't how first contact was supposed to go. "Move us back to a safer distance," he ordered. "Let's try approaching from a different vector." As the Council ship adjusted its position, a single text-only message cut through their communications. "Maintain QURENT distance. Any approach will be considered a hostile action." The bridge crew stared at the message in shock. No newly discovered species had ever rejected Council contact. It went against everything they knew about developing civilizations. "Sir," the science officer said, reviewing data streams, "I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from several of their installations. They appear to be defense systems we've never seen before. And some of their orbital platforms show signs of weapon damage. Old damage from previous battles." Dale's professional composure cracked slightly. "Previous battles? That's not possible. We're the first advanced civilization to find them." But the evidence was undeniable. Earth bristled with weapons and defense systems that showed years of development and refinement. Their orbital infrastructure wasn't built for peaceful exploration. It was designed for war. As the Council ship maintained its position, more human warships emerged from hiding spots throughout the solar system. They moved with practiced precision, taking up screening positions around Mars, Jupiter's moons, and several asteroid clusters. "First Speaker," the tactical officer said quietly, "they're not acting like a species encountering advanced alien life for the first time. They're acting like they've done this before," Dale finished, his voice heavy with realization. "And whatever happened in those previous encounters taught them not to trust anyone coming from the stars." The Council ship hummed motionless in space, its crew watching in growing unease as Earth's defenses continued to activate. Their perfect record of peaceful first contact was about to be stained with its first failure, and none of them understood why. What they didn't know, what they couldn't know, was that they weren't the first visitors to Earth. They were just the first ones to try asking nicely. 3 months after the failed first contact, the Council's diplomatic chamber was in chaos. The massive circular room, designed to host representatives from 300 species, echoed with heated debates and worried whispers. First Speaker Dale stood at the central podium, his gray skin pale with stress. "The humans have shot down our 6th diplomatic probe," he announced to the assembled representatives. They didn't even let it get past their outer defense line. A wave of muttering swept through the chamber. On the giant screens above, footage showed a small, peaceful council probe exploding in a flash of light. A human defensive satellite had destroyed it without warning. "What kind of civilization refuses to even talk?" asked the representative from the crystal worlds, their crystalline form flickering with confused colors. "It goes against all known patterns of species development." The head of the Council's Intelligence Division, Director Tom, stepped forward. His robotic body hummed quietly as he projected new images onto the screens. They showed Earth's rapidly expanding military presence across their solar system. In the past 3 months, Tom reported, the humans have built 3 new space stations around Mars. They've placed weapon platforms throughout their asteroid belt. And most concerning, he paused for effect, they're building what appears to be a massive defensive wall of satellites around their entire solar system. The chamber erupted in shocked discussions. No species had ever attempted to fortify an entire solar system before. The cost and technology required would be enormous. But where did they get such advanced technology? Someone shouted from the upper rings. "Our initial surveys showed them barely capable of reaching their moon." Director Tom's electronic eyes flickered. "That's the most interesting part. Our analysis shows their technology is mixed. Some of it is clearly their own design. But other parts," he displayed close-up images of human ships. "Other parts appear to be adapted from different technological bases, as if they've taken pieces of various alien technologies and made them their own." The implication sent a chill through the chamber. Humans hadn't just encountered alien life before. They'd apparently fought it and won, salvaging technology from their victories. A small diplomatic vessel approached Earth's defense perimeter, carrying the Council's most experienced negotiator, Ambassador Ray. His species was known for their ability to communicate with any life form. "This is Ambassador Ray of the Galactic Council," he broadcast on all frequencies. "We come in absolute peace. We seek only tow." Warning shots flashed past his ship's bow, so precise they couldn't have been accidental. The message was clear: come no closer. Instead of retreating immediately like the previous missions, Ray tried a different approach. He kept his ship perfectly still and began broadcasting images of peaceful council worlds, of different species working together, of shared prosperity and advancement. The response came 6 hours later. It was another text-only message. "Your presence is noted. Your continuity presence is not welcome. Final warning." Back in the council chamber, Ray reported his failure. "They're not aggressive," he explained. "Their warnings are precise, their responses measured. They don't want war. They simply want to be left completely alone." The council's chief historian, an ancient being named Will, finally spoke up from his corner. His voice was quiet but carried across the chamber. "Perhaps we're asking the wrong question," he said. "Instead of asking why they won't talk to us, we should be asking, what happened to make them this way?" As if to emphasize his point, new data streamed in from the observation posts. The humans had just completed another military installation on their moon, its design unlike anything in council records. Their systematic fortification of their solar system continued with unwavering determination. The council representatives watched the footage in silence, finally beginning to understand. They weren't dealing with a primitive species afraid of first contact. They were facing the civilization that had learned the hard way to be prepared for anything that came from the stars, even those bearing gifts and promises of peace. What the council didn't realize was that their peaceful overtures were being studied, analyzed, and added to a long history of alien encounters, a history that the humans had no intention of sharing with anyone. Deep within the council's central archive station, junior researcher Ben walked through rows of ancient data crystals. The massive archive was usually empty. Most species preferred accessing records digitally. But Ben believed in doing things the old way, especially when all modern approaches had failed. The lighting was dim, designed to preserve the crystals that held 50,000 years of galactic history. His footsteps echoed off the metal floors as he searched through Section 47B. Failed diplomatic missions. "There has to be something," he muttered, scanning the crystal labels. No species develops that kind of defensive mindset without a reason. A soft chime from his data pad interrupted his search. Another report from Earth. The humans had just destroyed the Council's 7th diplomatic probe. This one hadn't even made it halfway to their defense perimeter. Ben sighed and turned back to the crystals. That's when he noticed something odd. A gap in the archive numbering system. Section 47B23 jumped directly to 47B25. A whole section was missing. "Computer," he called out, "identify missing archive section 47B24. The computer responded in its neutral tone. "Section 47B24 has been classified by order of the High Council. Clearance level Alpha required." Ben frowned. The Council rarely classified historical records. Display date of classification. Classification enacted 49,876 years ago. His eyes widened. That was before even the founding of the current Council. Whatever was in those records was old, very old. Ben spent the next 6 hours going through every connected record he could access. He found hints, fragments, and references. Like pieces of a puzzle, they slowly came together. In the Council's main chamber, First Speaker Dale was discussing yet another failed diplomatic mission when Ben burst in, clutching his datapad. "First Speaker," he called out, breaking all protocol. "I found something. About Earth. About before." The chamber went quiet. Dale blinked his 4 eyes in surprise at the interruption, but gestured for Ben to continue. Ben connected his pad to the main display system. Ancient records flickered onto the screens. 50,000 years ago, he explained, slightly out of breath, a species called the Old Empire tried to conquer this sector of space. They weren't part of the Council. They were warriors, expansionists. They found Earth, thought it would be an easy conquest. He paused, bringing up more records. They were wrong. The chamber was completely silent now. Ben continued. The Old Empire sent a fleet of 300 ships. None returned. Not one. They tried again with 1,000 ships. Same result. The records are fragmented, but they show the Old Empire eventually collapsed. Their failed invasion of Earth was the beginning of their end. Director Tom's electronic eyes flickered rapidly. But that's impossible. Humans were primitive then. They had barely discovered metal tools. "That's what the Old Empire thought too," Ben said. "But look at these energy readings their ships recorded." He displayed ancient sensor data. These patterns, they match some of the hybrid technology we're seeing from Earth now. The humans didn't develop all their advanced technology recently. They've had parts of it for 50,000 years. The chamber erupted in shocked discussions. First Speaker Dale raised all 4 arms for silence. "Are you saying," he asked carefully, "that humans have been fighting off alien invasions since before our Council even existed?" "Yes," Ben replied. "And there's more. The survivors of the Old Empire. They joined the early Council. They buried these records out of shame, but they weren't the last to try invading Earth. I found hints, just hints, of at least 3 other species that tried over the millennia. None succeeded. Each time, humans salvaged the invaders' technology, learned from it, adapted it. The implications hit the chamber like a physical wave. Humanity hadn't just faced first contact before. They'd been fighting off alien invasions for 50,000 years. Each attempt had made them stronger, more prepared, more technologically advanced. "We've been approaching this all wrong," Ben concluded. "We thought we were making first contact with a young species, but we're actually dealing with one of the most experienced alien-fighting civilizations in the galaxy. And to them, any alien contact at all is just another potential invasion to defend against." The Council chamber remained silent as the truth sank in. They hadn't failed at first contact. They'd stumbled into the middle of humanity's 50,000-year-old policy of cosmic self-defense. 2 weeks after Ben's discovery in the archives, the Council's emergency investigation team presented their findings. The massive council chamber was packed with representatives from every member species, all eager to understand the full truth about Earth's history. Lead investigator Jack stood at the central podium, surrounded by holographic displays showing thousands of years of pieced-together data. His normally pristine white fur was ruffled from weeks of non-stop work. "We've confirmed researcher Ben's initial findings," he began, "but the reality is far more extensive than we first thought. Earth hasn't just faced 4 or 5 alien invasions over the millennia. We've now found evidence of at least 27 separate attempts to conquer or colonize Earth." Gasps echoed through the chamber. The screen showed a timeline, marking each discovered invasion, attempt across 50,000 years of human history. "The pattern is always the same," Jack continued, bringing up detailed analysis. "Each invading species thought Earth would be an easy target. Each time, humanity not only survived but emerged stronger. They've been collecting and adapting alien technology for longer than our council has existed." The screen showed images of human defense systems, with parts highlighted in different colors to show their origins from various alien technologies. Their orbital defense platforms used power systems from the old empire, shielding technology from the 6th invasion attempt, and weapons systems from at least 3 other species. But the most impressive part, Jack paused, zooming in on certain components. The way they've combined these technologies. Humans don't just copy alien tech, they understand it, improve it, and merge it with their own innovations. Director Tom stepped forward, his robotic form projecting additional data. "This explains their current behavior. When our diplomatic ship appeared, they didn't see a peaceful delegation. They saw what their history had taught them to see, the 28th attempt to conquer their world." The screen shifted to show current images of Earth's defenses. In just the few months since the Council's first contact attempt, humans had doubled their military presence in space. "Look at their defense strategy," Tom pointed out. "It's not just about technology. Their tactical positioning, their redundant systems, their communication protocols. Everything is designed based on centuries of actual combat experience against alien invaders." First Speaker Dale joined them at the podium. "But surely they must see we're different. We broadcast only peace messages. We haven't made any aggressive moves." An older council member, Will, spoke up from his seat. "That's exactly what the Bright Circle Empire did 4,000 years ago. They pretended to come in peace, then attempted to release a biological weapon into Earth's atmosphere. The humans stopped them, and according to these records, developed an entire range of biodefense systems from studying the captured weapon." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Every peaceful gesture the Council had tried had probably reminded humans of similar gestures used by previous invaders. Jack brought up new images, these showing human entertainment broadcasts intercepted from Earth. "Look at their culture," he said. "Their stories, their games, their military simulations. They're all built around resisting alien invasions. It's not just their technology that's been shaped by these encounters. It's their entire civilization." Their silence makes sense now, Ben added from his new position among the senior researchers. "They've learned that the safest response to any alien contact is no response at all, just quiet, efficient preparation for defense." The screen showed the latest images from Earth, new defense satellites being deployed, military bases expanding on Mars, and shipyards working at full capacity throughout their solar system. "We're not dealing with a primitive species that's afraid of alien contact," Jack concluded. "We're facing a civilization that has spent 50,000 years perfecting the art of defeating alien invaders. Every peaceful gesture we make, they've seen before. Every diplomatic approach we try, someone else tried before us, and then attacked." First Speaker Dale looked out at the assembled council representatives. "Then the question becomes, how do you make peace with a species that 50,000 years of history has taught to trust no one from the stars?" The chamber remained quiet. For the first time in the Council's history, they faced a civilization that had more experience with alien contact than they did, even if all that experience had taught them was how to fight back. While the Galactic Council struggled with their diplomatic crisis, humanity wasn't waiting for their next move. 6 months after first contact, Earth's expansion through their solar system had reached an unprecedented pace. From the Council's observation post near Neptune, First Speaker Dale watched the latest footage with growing concern. The humans had transformed Mars into a fortress world in less than 3 months. Massive defense platforms orbited the red planet, while ground-based installations covered its surface. Another mining base just went active in the asteroid belt, reported observer Mike, his sensor tentacles waving with nervous energy. That makes 37 new facilities in the past week alone. The screen showed endless streams of human ships moving between the planets. They weren't the elegant vessels Council species preferred. These were bulky, heavily armored, and bristling with weapons. Every cargo ship had military escorts, even within their own system. Director Tom entered the observation room, his robotic form carrying fresh data crystals. "The humans are working with incredible efficiency," he said. "They're not just expanding. They're fortifying everything they build. Every new outpost becomes a defensive position within days." The main screen showed a new human settlement being constructed on Europa, Jupiter's ice moon. Even before the living quarters were complete, defense systems were already online and scanning for threats. "Look at their building methods," Tom continued, zooming in on the construction. "They're using at least 5 different alien technologies in ways we've never seen before. They've mastered technologies that took other species centuries to understand." Dale watched as human engineers installed what appeared to be a shield generator of old Empire design, but modified to work with modern power systems. "They've had 50,000 years to study everything thrown at them," he said quietly. Every invasion attempt just gave them more technology to learn from. A sudden alert drew their attention. A new human fleet had emerged from Earth's orbit, larger than any they'd seen before. The Council observers tracked its progress as it moved toward the outer solar system. "They're heading for Titan," Mike reported, his tentacles twitching. "Saturn's largest moon." Over the next few days, they watched as humans began transforming Titan. Massive structures rose from the moon's surface, each one heavily armed and shielded. Deep space scanning arrays were installed, pointing toward the stars. Whatever the humans were building, it was designed to watch for threats from far beyond their solar system. In the Council's main chamber, representatives gathered for another emergency session. The screens showed the extent of human expansion: Mars fortified, Venus surrounded by defense platforms, the asteroid belt turned into a minefield, and now operations beginning in the outer solar system. "Their technology is advancing faster than we predicted," Director Tom reported to the assembled representatives. "They're not just using salvaged alien tech anymore. They're creating entirely new systems by combining different technological approaches in ways we've never seen." The screens displayed analysis of new human weapons, hybrid designs that merged the best features of multiple alien technologies with human innovations. Their ships now carried defenses that could counter almost any known weapon in the galaxy. "We thought their paranoia would hold them back," Ben said from his researcher's podium. "Instead, it drove them to create the most sophisticated defensive technologies in known space. Every invasion they survived made them stronger." The Council watched as another human fleet departed Earth, this one heading toward Neptune. Their systematic expansion continued without pause, each new position becoming a fortress within days of occupation. "They're not just claiming their solar system," Dale realized. "They're turning it into the most heavily defended territory in the galaxy." The final images showed Earth itself, now surrounded by layers of defense systems. The planet that had survived 27 invasion attempts had become a fortress world, unlike anything in Council records. "Perhaps," Will said from his corner, "this is why we never found any successful invasions of Earth in our records. Not because no one tried, but because no one succeeded. For 50,000 years, they've been preparing for this moment, the day they would be strong enough to claim their entire solar system." The Council chamber fell silent as they watched another human construction fleet launch. Humanity wasn't just surviving anymore. They were building an empire forged by 50,000 years of defensive warfare, and they were doing it right before the Council's eyes. 1 year after first contact, The Galactic Council faced an unexpected crisis. It wasn't just about Earth anymore. Other species had started following humanity's example. First Speaker Dale stood in the now half-empty council chamber, looking at the vacant seats. In the past month alone, 30 species had left the council. The screens above showed the reason why. Dozens of civilizations were building defensive systems copied from Earth's designs. The Blue Star Alliance has just announced their withdrawal. Director Tom reported, his robotic form projecting the latest data. They've already begun constructing fortress stations around their homeworld. The remaining council representatives watched as images showed the Blue Star species dismantling their peaceful trade ports and replacing them with military installations. Their new defense platforms looked remarkably similar to Earth's designs. They're not just copying human technology, Ben observed from his research station. They're copying their entire defensive strategy. Look at how they're positioning their fleets, building their bases. It's exactly like Earth's system. The main screen shifted to show more worlds following the same pattern. Species that had been peaceful council members for thousands of years were suddenly building warships and defense stations. Every one of them cited Earth as their inspiration. Another transmission from the crystal worlds, an aide announced. The screen showed the crystalline species ambassador speaking. We have observed humanity's wisdom. For too long, we relied on the council for protection. Earth has shown us a better way. Every species must be ready to defend itself. Dale watched as more systems appeared on the galaxy map, showing worlds turning into fortresses. How many have left the council now? 93 species in total, Director Tom answered, and 40 more have filed notice of their intention to leave. They're calling it the Earth Doctrine, the idea that true independence requires military strength. The screen showed a new human expansion fleet launching from their now heavily fortified solar system. They had claimed everything from Mercury to Neptune, turning each planet and moon into a defensive position. Now they were looking beyond. The humans still haven't spoken a single word to us, Ben noted, but their actions are changing the entire galaxy. In distant star systems, council observation posts reported the same pattern repeating. Species that once relied on council protection were building their own defenses. Trade routes were being fortified. Peaceful worlds were becoming armed camps. The Green Ring Empire just announced they're restructuring their entire society, Tom reported. They're converting their nature preserves into military training grounds. Their ambassador said, and I quote, Earth survived 27 invasion attempts. We must be ready for at least that many. The remaining council members watched their screens as another longtime member, the Ancient Minds, declared their independence. Their world, once known for its great libraries and universities, was now surrounded by weapon platforms. Humanity never had to fire a shot, Dale realized. They're changing the galaxy just by existing, just by showing there's another way to survive in space. The screen showed more council species departing. Some were forming new alliances based on mutual defense. Others were following Earth's example of complete independence. The peaceful galaxy the council had maintained for 10,000 years was transforming into a network of armed camps and fortress worlds. Latest report from Earth, Ben announced. They've developed a new type of shield technology. It's a hybrid of 6 different alien systems, plus their own innovations. Nothing in our records can penetrate it. The council representatives watched as human ships tested their new shields. Other species were already trying to copy the design, sharing defense technology among themselves while ignoring council requests for peaceful cooperation. 10,000 years of promoting peace through unity, Dale said quietly, and humanity overcame it in 1 year just by staying silent and building defenses. The final images showed Earth's latest construction project, a massive space station near Pluto, designed to watch the outer darkness. They weren't just defending their solar system anymore. They were preparing to defend against threats that might come from anywhere in the galaxy. And other species, watching and learning, were following their lead. The age of the peaceful Galactic Council was ending, replaced by an era where every civilization looked to the stars and saw not opportunity, but potential threats to defend against. The silent humans had spoken after all, not with words, but with the universal language of survival. 18 months after first contact, The Galactic Council held its final session. Only 20 species remained from the original 300 members. The Grand Chamber, built to hold representatives from across the galaxy, echoed with emptiness. First Speaker Dale stood at the podium for the last time, watching the final council meeting on screens that once showed a unified galaxy. Now they displayed a very different reality. A network of fortress worlds, armed camps, and independent systems, all following Earth's example. The Defense Coalition has announced its first official meeting, Director Tom reported, his robotic form displaying the latest news. 200 former Council species have joined. They're holding the meeting in Earth's solar system, at humanity's new Titan base. The screen showed the massive space station humanity had built on Saturn's largest moon. It was a fortress unlike anything the galaxy had seen before, a perfect blend of 28 different alien technologies, all enhanced by human innovation. And the humans, Dale asked, have they finally spoken? In their way, Ben replied from his research station. They sent coordinates and docking protocols to every species that wanted to join the coalition. No words, no diplomatic messages, just technical data and defense specifications. The main screen showed dozens of ships from different species approaching Titan. Each had copied elements of Earth's defensive designs. Some had even painted their ships in Earth's military colors, showing their commitment to the new doctrine of armed independence. The crystal worlds are transmission, and Aid announced. The screen switched to show the crystalline ambassador, now speaking from a heavily fortified command center. For 10,000 years, the Council taught us that peace comes through unity and open borders. Earth taught us the truth in 1 year. Peace comes through strength and readiness. We choose Earth's way. More footage streamed in from across the galaxy. Species that had once been peaceful council members were now building joint defense networks, sharing military technology, and fortifying their borders. All of them followed protocols and designs they had learned from studying Earth. The humans still haven't attacked anyone, Ben noted, reviewing the data. They haven't conquered a single world or demanded anything from anyone. They just built their defenses and let everyone learn from their example. The screen showed the latest images from Earth's solar system. Every planet from Mercury to Neptune had become a fortress. Asteroid fields had been turned into minefields. Defense platforms created overlapping fields of fire that could stop any invasion fleet. Final report, Director Tom announced. The last trade routes under Council protection have been closed. All remaining peaceful exchange protocols have been replaced with Earth's defensive trade system. Dale watched as the final pieces of the Council's influence faded from the galaxy map. They did it, he said quietly. They completely changed how civilizations interact with each other. Not through war, not through politics, but just by showing their strength and letting others learn from it. The screen showed the first meeting of the Defense Coalition beginning at Titan Station. Representatives from 200 species gathered in a room designed for war planning, not diplomatic discussions. Every species had brought their defense plans and military technology to share. Earth is teaching the defense protocols, Ben reported, watching the feeds. Still no words, no diplomatic speeches. They're just showing everyone how to build and maintain the defensive systems that kept them safe for 50,000 years. The final images showed a changed galaxy. The Council's bright trade routes and open borders were gone, replaced by fortress worlds and armed borders. But there was something else too, a stability that came from strength rather than treaties. Maybe this is better, Dale said, preparing to close the final Council session. We tried to force everyone to be peaceful. Earth showed them how to be strong enough that peace becomes the smart choice. As the last Council meeting ended, the screen showed one final image. Earth's latest construction project. They were building something massive at the edge of their solar system, a fortress platform bigger than anything they'd made before. They were preparing for the next 50,000 years of defending against whatever might come from the stars. And now, thanks to their silent example, they weren't the only ones. The age of enforced peace was over. The era of peace through strength had begun.